Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Talking Law from Women in the Law UK. I'm Sally Penni, a barrister based in Manchester at Kenworthy's Chambers and the Joint Vice Chair of the Association of Women Barristers. I'm also the founder of Women in the Law UK, an organisation which is passionate about supporting the next leaders in law. Find out more at womeninthelawuk.com. You could also connect with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Find us on Instagram at Women in the Law UK. On this episode, I'm thrilled to talk to Gillian Long, who has been the company solicitor for Nichols PLC for 20 years, the company who make Vimto. I started by asking Jill how she became a solicitor and if there'd been anyone in the law in her family.
There were no solicitors in the family. My dad was a joiner. My mum was a receptionist in the local swimming pool. I wanted to go to university. I was keen to continue my education. I wasn't very good at science, which meant that my dream career of being a vet wasn't open to me. So I looked at the subjects that I was good at and thought, what can I do with those? And also, if I'm really honest, I didn't want to have to make any more decisions and I wanted something mapped out for me. So the law seemed to fit with my skills of English and history. That's why I went for the law degree and ended up being a solicitor.
Wow. And can I ask you, when you were studying, were there many women? We're a predominantly women's organisation, if you like. We have lots of men who come to our events and support us. But were there many women?
Yeah, I show my age. It was the 1980s, the mid-1980s, and I would say it was probably 50-50 on my degree course.
Yeah, right. Because now, of course, it's 52%, certainly for the bar, and for solicitors, I think it's 60% for young women entering the bar.
Yes.
Entering the profession as solicitors and others. So that's actually quite a good ratio all round. It's later on that we don't see the same numbers replicated.
That's right.
In progression.
Right.
So you qualified as a solicitor. Was that into private practice?
Yes, I did. I started work in private practice in a firm in Leeds, which is where I'd done my degree. And I did my training through that firm and worked in property and in litigation. But the area that I was particularly interested in fact, was the only one that I liked, if I'm honest, was the corporate department.
Yes.
So that's what I qualified into, the corporate department. And that's where I worked for a couple of years.
Yes. Are you from Leeds?
No.
Oh, right. Where are you from?
No, I'm from a small village called Rainhill, which is in Merseyside. It's, I would class myself as a Scouser, but real Scousers would say that I wasn't.
That you were very posh.
Yeah, I'm really posh.
But you found yourself in Leeds having studied qualified. And we know now, of course, you are general counsel or company solicitor. But what happened in between? Why didn't you stay in private practice?
A lot of things happened in between, to be honest. I was early 90s, mid-90s, and we went through a recession and there was very little work coming into the corporate department. So unfortunately, I was made redundant from that role. So I had to look for something else and there wasn't a lot about.
No.
By which point
This is the 80s?
90s. This
okay.
was the 90s.
Yeah.
There were some roles down in London, but they didn't really suit my experience.
Yes.
My now husband was working down in Essex, and so I moved down to Essex and managed to get a role at Kodak in Hemel Hempstead. Which was
the film.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was based in Hemel Hempstead, and it was a locum position.
Yes.
So I worked there for six months or so, and that's where I really thought, I really quite like the in-house role as opposed to the private practice one.
Did you? Why was that? Because I've been a barrister for a long time, and many listeners will have been solicitors or barristers or in-house counsel. What's the difference? What suited you particularly so well that you thrived on it?
There was one particular incident that happened while I was at Kodak that made me, it just clicked. I just thought, this is what I want to be. I was sitting in the office and we dealt with all kinds of commercial contracts, property issues and so on. And I picked the phone up to a supervisor in a depot, actually up on Merseyside. And the chap on the other end of the phone said, "Is that the legal department?" So I said, yes. How can I help you? And he said, "How many toilets should we have?" And I didn't know the answer to that question. I thought he'd come through to the wrong department.
Yes.
But in actual fact, the legislation does tell you how many toilets you should have at each particular site, how many male and female toilets, how far away from the workplace they should be. So he was through to the right department. And what it said to me was that, and this I suppose is going back to the reason why I went into law in the first place,
yes,
was it affects everybody's life.
Absolutely.
In so many different ways that we don't even realise. I certainly didn't realise as an 18-year-old law student, but that phone call just made me realise that you could be that person. You could be at the end of the phone or in the meeting with the answers to people's questions that affect their daily life.
Yes.
So that was the phone call that made me think, I'm staying, if I can,
yes,
I'm staying in-house.
Wow. I mean, that is quite interesting, actually, that the law is all around us and for us, really.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can forget that.
Yes. Yeah. So from Kodak, where did you go?
Well, I needed a permanent role.
Yes.
Obviously, that was a temporary one, so I did end up working in a firm. I got a role in a firm of solicitors in Brentwood in Essex, doing commercial corporate law with a very good lawyer there who was the partner in that department.
Yes.
But I was never settled because I'd seen the other side,
yes,
I suppose.
Yes.
So I saw a role advertised at Britvic Soft Drinks for an in-house lawyer. And as I read the job description, I thought, that's the role for me.
Wow.
So I applied and got the role. And I was at Britvic for 5.5 years, loved every single minute of it. It was a fabulous place to work at that time. It was really enjoyable, really nice department, lots and lots of diverse issues and people to work with. We had contact with the BAS legal department in head office in London, so there were other lawyers to kind of work with as well.
Yeah.
I really, I mean, soft drinks, it's a nice industry.
I know, I was going to say, is that Robinson's?
It was Robinson's.
Ooh,
Tango and brands like that.
Yes.
But yeah, really enjoyed it. 5.5 years down there, and then wanted to move back up north because by then I'd had my eldest daughter, and my husband's from the north as well. So we started looking, and at the same time as we started looking, Nichols was looking for its first in-house lawyer.
Wow!
So the stars were aligned, and
you went for the job, and wow. So had they been sort of using solicitors or external?
Yeah, they had. I can't remember what his job description was. There was lovely man worked at Nichols when I arrived, and he was retiring. And David, his name was, and he did everything
really
legally. Anything that nobody else wanted to touch, poor David got handed it.
Yes,
and he did use external lawyers quite a lot. Clearly at that time it was a smaller business.
Yes, of course.
But he used external lawyers all the time for contracts and things like that. He just managed it within the company.
So Jill, how long have you been at Nichols PLC?
In March this year, I'll have been there for 18 years.
18 years? Wow.
It does sound a long time.
It does actually. And what sort of different changes have you seen in that time?
It's changed a lot. It's changed massively in that time. When I arrived, we were a manufacturing company. We had other companies that we owned, subsidiaries that did manufacturing in the food and drink industry. Over the years, we've sold those businesses off, and we're now completely focused on the sales. And we have one factory down at Ross, which does our bag-in-box products. But other than that, we focus completely on sales and marketing of the soft drinks.
Wow.
So the workforce has changed. It's a different format of workers, and therefore the work that I have to do has changed because of that. The culture's still the same. It's still the friendly family company.
Yes.
But I've seen a lot of changes, and the company has grown tremendously in those 18 years.
Wow. Nichols PLC, who make Vimto, it is a publicly listed company.
It is.
And it's huge. And so I just wondered what type of work do you do? Is the work interesting? And I just thought, can you tell us a bit about the sort of things you do? So, for example, it's big in the Middle East. So I'm thinking, crikey, you're flying over there, doing contracts.
Oh, no, it's not that exciting. No, it's definitely not that exciting. Although it is exciting. It's a great place to work. It's, what a lovely brand.
Yeah.
Everybody, certainly in Manchester and the Northwest, knows who you work for.
Yes.
Most people smile when you say that you work for them, and that's a lovely feeling.
Absolutely.
That, you make, the brand that you kind of represent has that effect on people. It's still a family business.
Yes.
John Nichols is the chairman, and his
Yes.
2 sons work in the business, and that's, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have direct contact with
My
those?
my office is next door to John's.
Oh, right.
So yeah, I've known John obviously for the 18 years that I've worked there.
Yes.
But in terms of the role, it's anything and everything. It's a lot of commercial contracts. That's the main part of the role. Clearly, trademarks is a major issue because we trade in 85 countries across the world.
Wow.
We have to protect the brand in all of those countries and make sure nobody's copying it
Yes.
or trading off it. Then there's any property issues that we have, new leases, tenancies, that kind of thing, because we have depots around the country. As you say, the licensees in the international sphere, managing those.
Yes.
Although we do have long-term agreements with some of our colleagues and licensees around the world. So there's not really that much kind of management of those issues.
Yes.
We have an out-of-home business that's growing. We've now got frozen beverages and the slush machines and that kind of thing.
Oh, yes, I've seen this.
So there's customer contracts with all of those people that I kind of manage with the teams.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of litigation, but thankfully not very much.
Not very much. Good.
Really try and avoid that. So yeah, anything and everything that you can, I do training, legal training, and invite colleagues in and present to them on legal issues. Try and impart enough knowledge for them to understand when they should come to the legal department for advice.
Yes.
Not make them lawyers.
But
make them, enable them to know when alarm bells should be ringing and when they should be getting things checked.
That is brilliant. Well, can I ask you then, what skills do you think is required for a good GC? I mean, I'm saying general counsel, but company solicitor, because you have to actually be embodied into the business, is the impression I'm getting.
You do have to be part of the business. You have to understand the business and take some time to spend time with people who do roles that are completely alien to you as a lawyer.
Yes.
You have to go out with the sales guys, you have to go out with the technicians and see what they do on a day-to-day basis. One of my roles is heading up health and safety.
Yeah.
So as part of that, you have to understand what people are doing in their daily job in order to make sure that we've got the policies and procedures to protect them. I think the skills that you need to be able to listen.
Yes.
And observe and know what's going on, because if you don't know what's going on, then you can't advise properly. So the key thing, I think, is to listen. And also, one of the things I learned in a role in the past from somebody else was you must make yourself approachable. You cannot be, the scary lawyer in the
shut room or something.
You can't be that person. You have to be approachable to everybody. So from the board, John Nichols, Marnie, whatever, all across the business, to every colleague that you've got should be quite happy to pick the phone up and ask you whether there are enough toilets, for example.
I'm going to remember that.
They need to be comfortable enough to do that, and that's a skill, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Can I ask you about gender diversity in the law and perhaps a bit about race and gender and social class? It's still not great in private practice. Is it better, do you think, in in-house positions? There's certainly more women I come across.
I think certainly that the gender diversity, as you say, I go to courses for in-house lawyers, and I would say it may even be as high as 70-30 in favour of women at those courses.
Yes.
And what I do notice at courses is, and I think you referred to it earlier, is you get a lot of younger solicitors, so up to about 30-ish, and then you get the more mature solicitors, and I'll include myself in that. And there is a gap. There's a gap of women, and clearly what they're doing is what you and I have both done is starting their families and realising, and again I'm surmising from what I can see in front of me, that they can't do both, or not do both as well as they would like to do.
Absolutely.
So they're making that choice, and I think there's therefore there's the gap of talent, but two, there's then that difficulty of getting back in, and how do you go from spending time with your children and starting your family to coming back in, and how is that perceived by your colleagues and your potential clients? I think it is a problem.
How did you manage? Because I know one of your children was a keen swimmer as well, so you had all that.
To
juggle
but
with
both
as
of my
well.
children are very keen to do stuff. They
And rather well as well. I see. No doubt you're a taxi.
We've all done it, haven't we? To greater or lesser degrees. We've, we have to. Swimming in particular, I think, is a challenge because of the times that they go swimming.
Yes.
But my other daughter has done gymnastics for several years, so I think you have to manage your time. You have to be quite ruthless about turning your phone off and just having to disassociate yourself with work for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you have to hopefully have a partner who shares the load with you so that it doesn't just fall on you.
Yes.
And that's all you can do, really. You can just try your very best. And what I've had has been a very supportive employer, and my role and my job and the firm I've worked for has enabled me. I work part-time, we have flexible hours.
Yes.
That just gives you that comfort that you can get to parents' evening or get to the swimming gala or whatever without compromising either of your two roles, your working life and being a mum.
Being a mum, which is a full-time role. I've got to ask you, Marnie Millard, who's the CEO of, and a dear friend of mine and will be coming on the podcast, has spoken at several Women in the Law UK events in the past and has attended as a guest of mine. And one of the things she says is about leading from the top. So having role models who are senior, who are not staying till 10 o'clock at night, every night, unless, of course, is required and warranted by the client. But leading from the top, so people see you leaving at 4 o'clock and see you going to the swimming gala. And she has been keen to lead from the top, especially as a woman in manufacturing, of which there are many. And I just wondered if that is useful in your company as a lawyer to see that.
I think it is useful. I think people need to know that you're doing that. I think you need to be quite explicit about it rather than, because people don't know why you're leaving. You could be going to a very important meeting, with the external lawyers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it is important, but I think it's quite important simply as a figurehead, so that the women in the company who are younger can look and see that what is achievable. Because they've got Marnie there, as the chief exec, we've got directors within the business who are women, who are mums. So you can see that it is possible. I would have liked it if I'd have been. I mean, I suppose when I was in private practice, very first role.
Yes.
Just as I arrived, we had a very senior lady partner retire, and that stayed with that firm for a while. I think that. I'm talking about the very early 90s then, and she was retiring at that point when she was a senior partner. So that legacy hopefully would then stay with the firm, that is achievable and it's a possibility.
Yeah, and good role modelling. What do you do for Wellbeing? You're the general counsel for this enormous firm. How do you relax? What do you do for Wellbeing?
Sometimes with difficulty.
Yes.
But I do a lot of sport. I play a lot of sport. It's probably where the girls get it from.
Yes.
So I play netball still once a week.
Wow. Although netball's become vicious, I tried to play last year and I got a cut.
Well, that was lucky because we've had broken bones in our team, and
oh, crikey.
Yeah, it's not a non-contact sport anymore.
No.
It's not what it was when I was playing.
Yes, me too.
So it's not the same anymore. So yeah, that's. I mean, what a great way to forget about work.
Yeah.
By the time you've played 40 minutes of netball, you are not thinking about work anymore. So I play that once a week. I run.
Right, brilliant.
So I do park run. That's obviously very popular.
Yes, every Saturday morning.
So I do that. Go to the gym, do Pilates, and we have a Labrador, 3-year-old Labrador that and again, that's so relaxing to take her for a walk, throw the ball for her.
And give you headspace as well. Yeah.
And obviously, taxiing children and trying to make sure homework gets done. And, FaceTiming university students and that kind of thing.
No, that's very helpful. I need to make a note of all of that. Do you have a favourite book? Or and a favourite fictional lawyer?
Okay, so the favourite book threw me a bit, if I'm honest.
That's all right.
I read a lot of books.
Yes, I thought you were.
And I
keen
kind
reader.
of, I just churn through them. Some of them, I really, really enjoy, and I would, I'd read a particular author. But went to see Little Women last night.
Right. So, firstly, do you read the physical books?
Yes.
Because when I interviewed Gina Miller, she says she's so busy, she struggles. She listens to them on Audible, which I do sometimes, but it's a bit, something in your hand.
Like a book. Yeah,
Yes.
not even a Kindle. I've tried it, but I can't do it. I like a book. I quite like a hardback book.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I like a book. So watched Little Women last night, so I might dig that out again because that brought back some memories.
Yes,
it's a really
I
good
love
film.
that book. So you've seen the new film, which is out now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was
Right.
good.
Was it good?
Really, feel good. Nice sort of couple of hours at the cinema. And then the one I'm reading at the moment, my husband bought me for Christmas, and it's called How to Grow Old by John Bishop.
The comedian.
Yes. and it's really funny.
Is it?
It's just, obviously he's a Scouser, so I would say that, wouldn't I? But he is. It's funny, it's laugh out loud, and it's relaxing.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So who's your favourite fictional lawyer? Do you have one? I mean, many would say Atticus Finch, who's one of mine, Rumpel the Bailey.
I did enjoy, actually, that's brought back some memories of, when you asked at the beginning, why did you go into law?
Yes.
I remember coming home at lunchtime. I think there was some sort of teachers' dispute and we weren't allowed in school, and Crown Court was on, so I used to watch that.
Yes.
So I've always liked those courtroom dramas, but my favourite, and it's not very highbrow, is Judge John Dean.
It's my mum's favourite. She thinks there's nothing has ever been on television as good as him.
Well, exactly. What's not to like with Martin Shaw and memories of the professionals, and I just like he's quite maverick in it, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's quite amusing.
Yes.
So I'd say he's my favourite.
Oh, great. I have to remember that. Just very, very quickly and finally, what do you think we can do to improve the diversity in the legal profession, particularly near the top?
I think it's a very difficult question, which is clearly why it's not been answered.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think it needs to come from the top. I think we need to see examples of, as you say, talking about Marnie, you need to see examples of successful people across the whole sphere, because that will then inspire other people. But I think each individual can kind of do their little part by respecting each other and having respect for different views, different opinions, different backgrounds. I think my two girls, when I was asked the question, I had to think about this. The younger generation are much more open to all kinds of diversity. It's absolutely no issue to them whatsoever.
Yes.
They think we are mad.
Yes.
That everybody should be accepted for who they are and given respect for who they are, no matter what. They just do not understand a mentality that doesn't do that. And I think we've got a lot to learn from them. But also it gives you a bit of hope.
Yes.
It gives you a bit of hope that maybe in the future this new generation will come through and some of these problems will
sort of be gone, effectively.
Be solved.
And then finally, you and I met Nisha Katona, the entrepreneur, former barrister who set up the Mowgli restaurant.
Yes.
And she was so inspirational, having given up her practice as a barrister after, I think, 20 years, which is coming up to what I am, actually, and founded those series of restaurants which are kind of vegan and amazing. And I just wondered, whether you had any women who inspired you.
Yeah, I mean, she is inspirational. And I think, but more than anything, what she's inspirational about is the fact that she took a chance, didn't she?
Yes.
And I think that's the key. And I think it's one of Marnie's, that, say yes to things. In terms of who inspired, my mum has been, just supported me into, as I say, my background is not legal, it's not academic, but my mum and dad both just allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And I think that's a good message to give to your children and to future generations and other people. Just be who you want to be and do what you want to do.
Absolutely. And finally, really, What's your favourite quote? I asked you earlier about your favourite book or books that you read, because I know you read a lot, and your favourite fictional lawyer, and Judge John Deed came out. And I wondered if you had a favourite quote that you live by or means something to you.
My favourite quote, and it's not anything you'll read anywhere, it's not from a famous person. My husband and I were queuing up to get on the Staten Island ferry, must be more than 20 years ago because it was before children.
Yes.
And there was a busker at the side, and obviously we were all queuing to go over and see the Statue of Liberty, and I can't do a New York accent, but he was in a very strong New York accent, and he said, guys, it's not the tall buildings, it's the people that you meet that are important. And it has stayed with us for 20 years. It's a kind of a catchphrase for Gary and I, when you've met somebody interesting,
yes,
or you've had a funny interaction with somebody, we just say, it's not the tall buildings.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm going to adopt it. That's actually yes, the people you meet. Because ultimately, life is about the people you meet. And the culture, as you said.
Yeah, I think he was trying to say to people, it's kind of, you're going to see something and, it's just a building, it's just a piece of stone.
Yes.
As you say, if you think about it, I don't know whether he thought about it that intensely.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really, really good one. Because it's just, that's what makes your day, isn't it? If you've had some interaction with somebody, or you've met somebody interesting, or just somebody funny, or just somebody nice.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And on that note, thank you so much, Gillian Long.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you again for listening to Talking Law with me, Sally Penni. You can find me on Twitter @SallyPenni1. Please do leave us a review. We'd love to get your feedback. Don't forget to visit us at womeninthelawuk.com for all the latest news about our organisation. Thank you again for listening. Talking Law was produced by Sam Walker and is a What Goes On media production.